Welcome to the My Three Things podcast with your host, Will Byington. Each week features Will alone or with a guest, a celebrity, actor, musician, athlete, author, influencer, or friend sharing their three favorite things of the moment. What they are watching, reading, listening to, interested in, or enjoying. Hopefully turning you into your new favorite thing. And now, here's your host, Will Byington.
What's up, everybody? Will Byington back with another episode of My Three Things, the brand new podcast that introduces you, hopefully, to your new favorite thing. This week on the podcast, I am thrilled to introduce you to an amazing photographer from Hollywood, California. Christine Lozano was the assistant manager at the Viper Room on the Sunset Strip in the legendary heyday of the venue, and she became their one and only photographer. At a time when photographs weren't even allowed at the Viper Room, she documented it all. So I'm proud to have her and thrilled to have her join me on My Three Things. Say hello to Christine Lozano. Thanks so much for joining me on My Three Things. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for being a part of My Three Things. We'll jump into that in just a little bit, but the biggest reason I've got you on the podcast is you were the photographer for the Viper Room, and you've got a book out. Talk to me a little bit about it. Tell me about a little bit about the book. Tell me about a little bit about everything that people can expect.
Well, it was a whole different time. I mean, one of the great things about the Viper Room, it was small. So, you were literally like 10 feet away from your favorite artist, and everybody, that was anybody really played there. You had big name acts that would just come and jump on stage, or actually sometimes even jump behind the bar and bartend. Christina Applegate used to bartend there. Adam Durowitz, Counting Crows guy, used to bartend there. So, and you just never knew who you were. And I mean, you literally were rubbing elbows, So I went there. I started out as the owner's assistant, and there it was Johnny Depp owned it, but the general manager, Sal, I was his assistant for a minute, and then I became the day manager. And in that process, because cameras weren't allowed, so they didn't have anyone really to photograph, and I self-taught myself. I mean, luckily I had a friend at a photo lab because I had a lot of blank negatives because it was hard shooting just with that light, and in a very dark room. So I had to learn very fast. And and then I just became the in-house photographer.
What are some of the highlights in the book?
The whole time. Well, for me, being such an Iggy Pop fan, it was just Iggy, because he's so flamboyant and outrageous that, I mean, he was all over the place. But you also had the Colts, and you had members of Guns N' Roses. They would get together with members of Duran Duran, called Neurotic Outsiders, and Michael Hutchence played as well. It's just awesome. Amazing,
And the idea that so many rock stars probably lived within a couple miles of there. I mean, the Viper Room's right in the heart of the Strip on Sunset Boulevard. Probably was where they would come to let loose, but they would also come to, to rock out. And are there any other, what 2 or 3 photos in the book or the website, viperroomphotos.com? Are there 2 or 3 photos that you just truly feel special about?
Yeah, because I was thinking about this. One of the best things for musicians that I find is when they're so into it, they don't probably even know that there's an audience there. And Iggy is one. There's one where he was so into it, his nose is bleeding. We'll say he was so into his nose is bleeding. That might be another reason why his nose is bleeding. But it just started bleeding. But another one was John Frusciante. He went on stage, and the picture that I have in the book, it's just it not to toot my own horn, but it just captures the whole essence of a musician so into it that, I mean, it's like the world could be falling around him, and he's so into his music. And I was really, really proud that I got it, you know, and that's why, like in the book or actually on the website, I'm a huge fan of Mick Rock, and you know, just how he says it's like the whole thing is capturing that image of them being in that moment, you know. And also any picture, like, because it's so close to stay, have people reaching out and being so in the moment too, you know. I mean, it was amazing. Fans, sweaty, whatever. I mean, you know, it was like the good old days where you could be in sort of like, you know, like all sweating all over each other and just, I don't want to say a mosh pit because no one was moshing or whatever, but you know, it was just such a an environment of just, you're there for one reason, and it's just to hear good music.
So I've been a professional rock and roll photographer since 2004. So right about the time you stopped there is when I started. I'm so jealous, and I'm always so in awe, in love, and fascinated by amazing rock shots. But also, I'm also so amazed and just wish I could time travel back to those days where, like you said, no cameras were allowed. You know, I love that, you know, now if you went into the Viper Room, and I don't know if they allow phones now, it's a club. So yes, you know, like I love the idea that you were the only one in the room to capture those moments. And that's so incredible.
I definitely got lucky. Yeah, you know, they say you're meant to be in the, you know, right place at the right time, and definitely I got lucky. And you know, like I said, I'm self-taught, so it was just a matter of I have a notebook with all my s-dots and shutter speeds and what film I used and what worked and what didn't work. Just, I worked in the morning, I would shoot at night, just do my homework. I barely slept.
I would argue you also got a level of trust, you know, and working there and being involved like you were and being there day in, day out. You know, one thing that I truly believe epic rock shots involve is not only luck, because there is a lot of luck, but I think there is also a trust, and you know, knowing to be in the right place at the right time. But it's also trust. It's also knowing that you're the only person getting that shot, and that the bands knew you played probably a huge part.
A lot of them came back, especially like the guys from Guns N' Roses. You know, Duff would always come back with Steve Jones. We called him Jonesy. I mean, Iggy, we called him Papa Iggy. That's what we used to call him, awesome. You know. And but yeah, and then so you would also shoot like rehearsal time, you know, when they would come in and do a sound check or something. So yeah, you create a rapport.
ViperRoomPhotos.com. It's available now, correct?
Yes.
People can order right from the site. Are you still shooting? Are you still?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, to be fair, I haven't been in a nightclub in a minute, but you know, I mean, but I think that time and that span of time, the 90s to the early 2000s, won't ever exist again.
Yeah.
You know, just to have that closeness with a nightclub / bar, that small, to be that close to big name artists, I just don't see it. I mean, now when you go to shows, they have you put a phone in a bag, and you know, you can only shoot the first 3 songs. You know, yeah. It's like
no, there was something definitely organic about it. Like I said, there's something about just the legend of the Viper Room, the history, and the uniqueness of, like I said, of where it is, what it is, how intimate it is. I mean, that truly had to be incredible.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, Hunter S. Thompson was really good friends with Johnny. Johnny loved him, adored him. He would go there and do like, he went on stage and with Johnny, and they did some talking and readings and stuff. Roseanne Barr sang, and that was just like, oh, what's happening, you know? But you know, so you never knew.
I mean, it had to be every day. It had to be
Sometimes
unique.
You never knew who was coming in.
Every day had to be unique. You never know who's going to walk through the door. All right, so ViperRoomPhotos.com. That's where you get the incredible book of photos from the Viper Room in Hollywood, California. Let's talk about your 3 things. As I think I told you, the whole idea behind this started when myself, as someone who usually goes to a nightclub or a rock show 2 to 3 times a week in a normal world. When that got shut down and locked out of my world over the last year, I missed the idea of talking to a bartender, or friend or stranger at the bar. I miss them telling me what they're listening to, what they're reading, what they're watching. I feel like we need that. We need to be getting a drink at the Viper Room and having the bartender be like, you need to check out this band, or shit, you need to watch this show. So that's where I started my 3 things. So what are 3 things that are rocking Christine Lozano's world right now? What's number 1 on my 3 things?
Number 1. Well, I am going to do this puppy. It's I love it. And it's well loved, as you can see. It's a book I'm reading. I'm almost done. It's called Please Kill Me. The Uncensored Oral History of Punk. Again, I wish I was in New York at that time, put it that way, where you have Max's, Kansas City, Max's and CBGB's. And it just talks about, again, CBGB's was, in my tiny mind, because I've never been there, but the way they describe it, small and intimate, like the Viper Room.
Yeah.
Where you saw, Ramones got started there, Blondie started, and it was just amazing.
Everybody played there. Yeah.
And they would play, and then they would just get off and just have a beer, and you could be, just talk to them, so there's a lot of stories in there about who was a dick and who was nice and who slept with everybody. And it's an awesome book. Yeah.
Wait, there's assholes in rock and roll? What? In punk rock? What?
What?
In
punk rock. Yeah.
CBGB, yeah, same thing. It is the East Coast version of the Viper Room, where everything I've ever heard, I've never been there either, unfortunately, but you just, never knew who was going to show up. You never know who's going to walk in and get on the drum kit that night, or
seeing someone get their starting there. Like, I mean, I'm obsessed with Richard Hell, so just like television and everything, and then blowing up, or even the New York Dolls, and you don't know that they're going to be the biggest band for this length of time, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember when they first started, they were shit. Everyone used to make fun of the Ramones because they had 3 notes or something.
So Please Kill Me, the Uncensored Oral History of Punk. Who's it by? Who wrote it?
Legs McNeil, who was around during that time. Yeah, Legs McNeil. So, and Gillian McCain. It's amazing. You got to read it.
I'll definitely check that out. And Dave Grohl did a great post last year during the pandemic about basically saying how we need to get back to being at a sweaty rock and roll show. And I fully believe that. I fully believe we all need to get back to being in a dark, dank rock and roll show, crowded in, shoulder to shoulder, bumping into each other. We need that energy. We need that excitement. We need that escape. And
ears ringing for 2 days.
Yeah. And rock and roll's kind of gotten away from it, but I hope we get back to it. What's number 2?
My 3 things. Watching, I saw this TV show, and it's called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. It's Kevin Can F Himself, and it has Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek in it, and it's so amazingly original. And that's so hard nowadays because you have remakes, but it's amazing because what they do every time the husband is in the room with her, it's like a sitcom, deadpan laughter and everything. But when she steps out of the room or when he leaves, it's the whole situation changes. It's really dark and gloomy because she hates her husband so much. It's so good. Where you have the not so great looking husband who gets this hot wife somehow, and the cookie neighbors. Yeah. And, but I mean, that part is good, but it's amazing how when she leaves and everything like that, how she's trying to kill him. That's basically, and I'm not ruining anything, but she hates him so much, Yeah.
I heard it's sweet because as much as the whole show's about her trying to kill her husband, I've heard she'll still then make him dinner and go the extra step, putting something on the plate, be like, oh, here, honey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not sinister. It's just refreshing because it's something new, something you've never seen before, you know. Like I said,
what is
everything's
it on Netflix or Amazon? I can't
Amazon.
remember.
Well,
Amazon.
I've seen it on Amazon, but originally it's on AMC.
Kevin can F himself. Kevin can fuck himself. Can't wait to check it out. Thanks so much for sharing. All right, so that's two. Number three. What's number three on my three things for you?
Number three, I'm going to talk again about, well, this time it's a movie. I'm aging myself, but and you're in Chicago, I'm in love with John Hughes. And it's a lot of movies, now it's about killing or greed and blah, blah, blah. And it's just so refreshing. My favorite movie of his of all time is Some Kind of Wonderful. I love it because the guy doesn't get the girl that he wants, he gets the girl he needs, you know. So,
oh wow!
And it's just refreshing. Right. Yeah, have you not seen it?
I actually, it's funny, and this is why I love this podcast. It's why I love this idea. You totally, when you mentioned, you know, you went where I did not think you were going. I don't think I've seen that John Hughes movie.
Eric Stoltz is just amazing because he's sort of like a little shabby guy. He's an artist, you know, so he's kind of, and he doesn't get along with people at school, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So
have you has that been your like comfort food for the pandemic? Is you'll watch Some Kind of Wonderful?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it thousands of times. Mary Stuart Masterson plays his tomboy best friend, and Leah Thompson plays like the hot chick in school, and even the hot chick in school, she's got faults and she's trying to work with him, so she doesn't come off as a lot of 80s, you know, that sort of stuck up kind of one note. So that's also great too. Like she's got so many layers, you know.
John Hughes had such a voice. Like he literally was a grown-up teenager. I feel like he channeled the teenage years so well. Channeled the nerd. I mean, that's what I love about Breakfast Club, of course, but also Ferris Bueller and all of his work. He channeled that so well. So I love when you said it was like, you know, the kid, the nerd, the guy who didn't get the girl of his dreams, and you know, John Hughes just connected with that so well throughout his whole career. It's fascinating.
Yeah. You know, and it's just, I know a lot of people that I've met that don't even know who John Hughes is, and it kills me. You know, I'm like, okay, just, you know, and they're like, well, which one should I watch? And it's like, you know, but I always do this one because I like I said, the underlining thing is you don't always get what you want. You get what you need. And I love that, you know, I do.
Wait, the Rolling Stones wrote about this? No, I'm joking.
Well, they
awesome.
sing Miss Amanda Jones in the movie.
Oh,
That's
really?
The song. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So they use that all through the movie.
No, that it truly is like, yeah, you know, it's everything about John Hughes. Like, it was always sweet. His movies always had heart. I feel like. No, it's John Hughes. There was also, I think, a biography or something. He's incredible. And unfortunately, I feel like died way too young. He also disappeared from Hollywood. You know, he just got burned out on it. And I think he wrote, I think one of his last ones was like Beethoven. And then, you know, he did a couple things, but then, you know, I would say for the last 10 years or so of his life, I don't think he even did much, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel that this Some Kind of Wonderful is probably the least, I mean, out of the main Brat Pack type movies, like opposed to 16 Candles or you know, Breakfast Club. I think this is the least watched one, which, you know, it's unfortunate.
Well, like I said, now I'm definitely looking it up. I'm definitely diving in. We all need, again, you know, hopefully my podcast, we all need some joy because there's enough darkness, enough negativity, enough, you know, and hey, as much as I love, like, you know, I'll watch Kevin Can Fuck Himself. I'll watch that to see about somebody trying to kill their husband. And then I'll watch Some Kind of Wonderful for a smile.
There you go. And the music is great in it. He's always has great music, so
Yes.
you'll dig the music too.
I fully credit John Hughes with the soundtrack of the '80s. I feel like he definitely and his movies inspired and then passed on the torch to guys like Cameron Crowe. Those are three incredible things that'll hopefully turn people onto. And then as well, people can check out viperroomphotos.com to get an excellent photo book for their coffee table.
There you go.
Thank you so much for joining, for taking a few minutes. Thanks for being here, Christine, and being part of my three things. 3 excellent suggestions, and hopefully everybody can check those out and dive in. I know I'm looking forward to it as well. Christine Lozano, official photographer for the Viper Room. ViperRoomPhotos.com is the website. You can track down her coffee table book of photos from the heyday, the legendary Viper Room on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, California. Thanks so much again for being here. That's another episode of My 3 Things. We'll be back next time. Until then, hashtag us, My 3 Things Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And please share it. It's on all the platforms, Apple, Spotify, all the podcast platforms you can find us. And please share this with your friends and family and let us know what you think. Let us know what you're listening to. What's your 3 things of the moment that are rocking your world? I'm Will Byington. Till next time, thanks so much.